Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered what it really takes to feel financially successful? Is it a six-figure income, $1 million net worth, or perhaps something more? Let's unpack the numbers, the generational differences, and the emotional ties to what it takes to feel financially successful. Let's look at what it takes to feel like you've made it. There's often a debate about which is more important, income or net worth. And I think it really depends on your life stage. I think when you're younger, I think income is more important because this fuels wealth building. It allows you to build your investments, which allow you to build your net worth. Then once you step into retirement, it's your net worth that provides you an income in retirement. So really, I think they're both important, but which is more important depends on your life stage. The financial services firm Empower recently did a survey asking individuals exactly what financial success meant to them. And the answers are pretty shocking. But before we dive into Empower's findings, I want to ask you this question. What income and net worth do you think you would need to feel financially successful? Let's break it down by generation. The youngest generation, Gen Z, said they would need an income of nearly $600,000 in order to feel successful. Millennials, a more reasonable $180,000, Gen X, just over $200,000, and baby boomers, about $100,000 in order to feel financially successful. These numbers reveal some general trends, and I have some thoughts as to why they vary. If we look at the youngest generation, they're just getting started. Maybe they're looking at buying their first home, and these homes come with a hefty price tag. Maybe they're carrying a hefty amount of student loan debt. Maybe they're working their first job, and they get their first real paycheck, and suddenly they look at this paycheck and think, oh my goodness, this doesn't go as far as I thought it would. And to top it off, since they're just getting started, they may not have much in the way of savings or investments to fall back on. So it can leave you with that feeling of, I really need a big paycheck in order to just survive. Interestingly enough, a 2023 survey found that millennials said they needed $500,000 as an annual income in order to feel successful. So this certainly isn't the first time this number's popped up in a survey. At least when it comes to this survey, we see a pretty significant drop when it comes to the annual income millennials say they need in order to feel successful. But then once we get to the next generation, Gen X, we see a bump up. And in my mind, this is actually perfectly reasonable. Perhaps this is the generation that is really starting to hone in on their retirement plans. And many often feel behind when they're trying to solidify these plans. So if you're at this stage of life and you're feeling behind, the idea of having a higher salary would allow you to save more, and that would allow you to retire on time. And then we see for baby boomers that the ideal income to feel successful is around $100,000. And I would say that many baby boomers have already transitioned into retirement, and they're finding that they're living a comfortable lifestyle. So they found that the ideal income isn't as high as what they maybe previously thought. It's completely natural for your ideal salary to change over time. For instance, when you're just getting started and life is throwing a lot of expenses your way, it can feel like you need a higher paycheck just to get by. Or maybe you get to a point where you have kids, and kids come with a lot of expenses. Daycare, that's expensive. Diapers, those are expensive. And feeling like you need a little bit more in order to feel comfortable is completely natural. Your expenses tend to ebb and flow throughout your life, and so the salary that you're feeling comfortable with or contented with is likely going to ebb and flow throughout time. With that said, what does the average salary look like? Well, if we look at all households, single earning households as well as dual income earning households, the median salary in the US is about $80,000. When we look at dual income earning households specifically, the median household income is around $130,000 to $140,000, depending on if we're looking at couples with or without kids. Also, the income range to be considered a middle income earning household in America is $56,000 to about $170,000. So essentially, nearly every generation is saying, hey, I need an income that moves me beyond middle class in order to feel successful. And if you take this at face value, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Because if you have a middle class income, that can feel adequate, but it might not feel extraordinary. This is probably why 49% of Americans feel less financially successful than their peers. I think a lot of this feeling really has to do with social media. It's so easy nowadays for us to see everyone's perfect vacation or brand new car or perfect home on display and seemingly thrown in our face. But the thing is, you have no idea what is going on behind those photos. You have no idea if those photos are even real or if it's a lifestyle that's heavily financed by debt. We really have no idea. If I'm being honest, I think social media has had a net negative impact because not only does it encourage us to compare ourselves to our peers, but it also encourages us to compare our lives to those of celebrities or people across the globe that we've never even met. And when this group of people become barometers for comparison, I think it sets us up for a life of disappointment and unmet expectations. A big message that I try to drive home with this channel is it doesn't matter how anyone else is doing on their financial journey. What matters is that you're creating a personal financial plan that works for you, one that is allowing you to hit your personal financial goals. If you've accomplished your goals, you've won, end of story. The same theme is present when Empower went to tackle the subject of net worth to feel successful. Some of the numbers in this survey were just downright surprising, if I'm being honest. Let's look at the net worth each generation said they would need in order to feel successful. The youngest generation, Gen Z, say they need $9.5 million in order to feel successful. Millennials, they say they need $5.6 million, Gen X, $5.3 million, and baby boomers, about $1 million. While I do think some of these numbers are shockingly high, I'm going to take a moment and give some merit to them. When we talk about the youngest generation, Gen Z, saying that they might need something like $10 million in order to feel financially successful, well, maybe that's looking at it from the perspective of what would it take to step away from the workforce and feel financially independent. At that point, when you're only in your 20s, I think that's a very reasonable number. Same would go for millennials or Gen X and their $5 million figures. $1 million net worth is a very popularized financial goal, and I think it's a fine goal, but I think we're all aware that at this point in life, having $1 million invested does not give you free rein to live a very lavish lifestyle. Now, with that being said, I am in no way saying that everyone needs $1 million or $5 million or $10 million invested in order to be financially successful. What you need depends on your lifestyle, your expenses, and your income streams. So this number is going to vary wildly from person to person, and the best thing I can say is that it varies. And I feel like in these numbers, there's a fair bit of fantasy. I don't think people are answering with the reality of what is a real metric that I could hit. I think they're kind of dreaming of what number would I love to see on my bank statement if all my wildest dreams could come true. Because the idea of having $10 million invested in your 20s is a pretty unlikely number for most of us to hit. Same thing with having $5 million invested in your 30s. These are just very lofty numbers and metrics to hit at such young ages. And just looking at these numbers as they're stated, they're kind of the reverse of what you'd actually expect. When we're just starting out in life, it's natural that our net worth is the lowest. Once you get to your later years, that's when your net worth should be the highest. At this point, you've had decades of investing and compounding has worked to grow your money. Your net worth should peak in your later years, not in your 20s. Also, being someone who's never earned $500,000 in a single year or had $10 million invested, I can still say that I feel financially comfortable. I feel financially comfortable because I live below my means and I set something aside for my future. Throughout my career, I've had fairly consistent career growth and my investments have grown fairly consistently. I can say I feel more comfortable with my finances in my 30s than I did in my 20s. I've simply had more years to make progress, and this progress generates that feeling of stability and comfort. I think it's hard to have those feelings right out of the gate in your 20s. I think part of this is also a reason we see more modest figures when we look at baby boomers. They've simply had more years under their belt to create financial stability. They're also likely acutely to be aware of what their expenses are and the income needed to cover those expenses. So I think with more years, you gain more wisdom of what it really takes to feel successful. At the end of the day, financial success isn't about hitting someone else's benchmark or chasing numbers that look good on paper. It's about creating a life that works for you. Whether it's a big net worth, a comfortable income, or simply feeling secure in your financial plan, success is personal. If you're living below your means and saving for your future and making progress toward your goals, you're already on your way there. Really, the only comparison you should be making is yourself today and your past self. I once heard Matthew McConaughey in a speech say that his hero was his version of himself 10 years from today. And I think that serves as a good reminder for continual growth within ourselves on a personal level and continual growth from a financial perspective. So what are your goals? What is your ideal income? What is your ideal net worth? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Oh geez, this is gonna be a hard one because I have a cold today and we are going to hide it as best we can. But then no, that's ridiculous. This is horrible. La, 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 la. Disappointment. Don't like it. Rework it. Lighting issues. Too many times. We shouldn't say consistent that many times. It's consistently annoying. I once heard. Ooh.